It started with a wrong number and a string of curses I never meant for him to hear. But instead of hanging up, he listened like nobody ever had. Ethan Hayes, 29, construction worker by day and silent storm by night, didn't believe in soft landings. His life was hard, unforgiving, and fueled by cheap beer and anger he didn't know how to name. One night, tired of holding it in, he dialed his ex-girlfriend's number, planning to spit out everything he never said. But his call didn't land where it was supposed to. Instead, a calm, gentle voice on the other end answered, "This is Dr. Adrian Cole. Who am I speaking with?" That was the first night I heard him, the doctor whose voice started out as a mistake and quickly became the only thing tethering me to sleep. Adrian was everything I wasn't. He was polished, young. His words measured and steady like he'd been trained to fix not just bodies but broken souls. And yet, he didn't hang up when I ranted. He didn't scoff when my anger bled into silence. Instead, he said, "You sound like you're carrying too much alone." That single sentence disarmed me more than any punch I'd ever taken. First, it was nothing, just a stranger letting me unload. But then it became every night me, lying in bed, clutching the phone like a lifeline, listening to him breathe on the other side. Sometimes he talked about the hospital, about patients who fought to live another day. Other nights, I confessed things I never told anyone: how my father raised me with fists instead of love, how my hometown whispered about me like I was a curse, how I'd never really said out loud what I wanted most: to be loved by a man. I told him that part in fragments, scared he'd hang up. But Adrian never did. His voice softened, carrying a steadiness that felt like safety. "Ethan," he said once, quiet but firm, "there's nothing wrong with needing someone." The calls became oxygen. Days blurred into exhaustion, sweat, and grit, but nights were alive with a secret tenderness. I began to crave the hours when I could whisper into the dark and know he was there, steady on the other side, reminding me I wasn't crazy for wanting more. But of course, the world isn't kind to men like me. Small-town America has long memories, and people talk. The guys at the site noticed me smiling at my phone, lingering too long in the corner at lunch. One of them, Brent, slapped my back and sneered, "Who's the lucky girl, Hayes? Or is it one of those pretty boys from the city?" The laughter stung, because in their voices was the echo of every warning I grew up with. Be tough, be straight, be silent. That night, my call with Adrian was jagged, my voice raw. "This doesn't work," I said. "You don't get it. Can't just live like you." There was a pause, and for the first time his voice cracked. "Do you think it's easy for me? Do you think I don't get looks at the hospital, whispers from colleagues when I don't bring a girlfriend to events? I chose medicine because I wanted to heal people, but it doesn't mean I'm immune to the world's cruelty." His voice steadied, but softer now. "The difference is, I decided I won't let them dictate how I love." That night I didn't hang up. Couldn't. His words clung to me like balm on open wounds. Weeks passed, and the line between fantasy and reality blurred. I started dreaming of meeting him, of seeing his face instead of imagining it. But the thought terrified me. If he met his rough, scarred man with calloused hands and a reputation for anger, would he still want to hear my voice at night? Adrian must have felt it too, because one night he said, "Ethan, I don't want just your voice anymore. I want to see you." I froze. My chest tightened with a fear I couldn't name. But the truth was I wanted it too. So we picked a spot neutral ground. A small cafe 2 towns over, where no one knew my name. The morning I left, I almost turned back a dozen times, hands shaking on the wheel. But when I walked in and saw him, tall, clean-cut, his white coat traded for a simple sweater and jeans, I forgot how to breathe. Adrian smiled, that same softness I'd memorized through the phone, and for the first time it was aimed directly at me. "Ethan," he said, like he'd been waiting all his life to speak my name. The cafe was quiet, filled with the scent of coffee and the hum of conversations that didn't belong to us. We sat, awkward at first. My rough hands fidgeted against the table, his fingers tracing the rim of his cup. But then, like every night before, the words spilled. We talked until the world outside the window turned from morning to dusk, and when he reached across the table, brushing his hand against mine. I didn't pull away. It felt like the first honest touch I'd ever known. Still, shadows followed us. Meeting in person was different. It wasn't just a voice on the line, Anna Marie, it was flesh and bone, risk and consequence. My crew found out I'd been skipping Friday beers. They jeered louder, their questions sharper. Brent's taunts turned into threats. Better watch yourself, Hayes. Folks around here don't like faggots flaunting it. I tried to ignore it, but the fear clawed at me. I couldn't bring danger to Adrian. Not him. One night, my voice shook as I told him, maybe we should stop, before it gets worse. His silence cut deeper than any insult. Then, softly, Ethan, do you want to stop? Or are you just scared? Both were true. Adrian sighed, and in his voice was both frustration and heartbreak. I can't force you, but I need you to know you've already changed me. I don't go to bed lonely anymore. I don't wake up feeling like something's missing. You gave me that. He paused, voice breaking just enough to sound human. Don't throw it away because the world's too small to hold us. I wanted to tell him I loved him. The words clawed at my throat, but they stuck there, buried under fear. So instead, I whispered the only truth I could manage. I need you. And in that moment, it was enough. The next weeks carved themselves into me like scars I couldn't erase. Every stolen hour with Adrian felt like a miracle, and every shadow that trailed me back home felt like a curse waiting to fall. We tried to live in that fragile balance, him with his stethoscope and long shifts, me with my hammer and steel beams. But love, even when it was still learning how to breathe, refused to stay hidden forever. One night we drove out of town, where the highway bent into endless fields. Adrian insisted on taking the wheel. I sat there, jaw tight, watching the headlights carve through the dark, while his voice filled the silence with little stories from his dying old woman who sang hymns during her blood pressure check, a kid who asked if doctors were superheroes. Are you? I asked, the words out before I could stop them. His smile was soft, like the curve of moonlight against glass. Superheroes don't go home alone to empty apartments, Ethan. He glanced at me, and in the low light his eyes burned with something that scared and thrilled me at once. But maybe I don't have to anymore. I wanted to kiss him then. God. I wanted it so badly I gripped the seat just to stop myself. But the fear was always there, crouching like a beast between us. If someone saw, if word got out, what would it cost us? We pulled over at a rest stop, the kind nobody really used after dark. The air smelled of gasoline and wild grass. He leaned against the hood, arms folded, looking at me with that calm steadiness he carried everywhere. You're not saying what you want, he said. What if I can't? Then you'll spend your life letting other people tell you who you are. His words hit like a hammer, but instead of breaking me, they split me open. I stepped closer, my boots crunching gravel, and before fear could claw me back, I kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was raw, messy, years of silence poured into a single touch. He didn't flinch. He pulled me closer, his hands in my hair, and for once the world outside the two of us didn't exist. When we pulled apart, I could barely breathe. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. You don't have to know, he whispered. You just have to want it. And I did. God help me, I did. But love didn't erase the world, it just made the danger sharper. Word spread faster than wildfire in a small town. Brent must have seen us that night or heard whispers, because suddenly his jabs weren't just jokes. One morning at the site, he shoved me against the scaffolding, voice low and venomous. You think we don't know, Hayes? You think you can sneak around with some pretty Dr. Boy and no one's gonna notice? The air went still. The other guys turned, pretending not to listen, but their silence screamed louder than words. I shoved him back, fists clenched. Mind your damn business. But it was too late. The damage was done. That night, I called Adrian with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. It's getting worse, I muttered. He didn't say anything for a moment, and I could hear the weight of his thoughts through the static. Come stay with me, he finally said. I froze. It's just a night, he added quickly. Or a few until it calms down. You don't have to keep walking into the fire alone. Ethan. The thought of stepping into his world, into the place where he lived, where he healed people, where everything was clean and bright and nothing like me terrified me. But the truth was I was tired. Tired of the jeers, tired of the fear, tired of going home to silence after tasting what it felt like to be heard. So I went. Adrian's apartment was nothing like mine. Warm light spilled from lamps instead of a single bare bulb. Books lined the shelves. Medical journals stacked neatly alongside novels he admitted he never finished. A faint scent of coffee lingered in the air. "You live like a grown-up?" I muttered half to myself. He laughed, setting his keys down. "And you live like a man who can't even keep his fridge working." He smiled, but he didn't press. Instead, he handed me a glass of water and let me sink into his couch. It felt strange, being in a space that carried so much of him, stranger still that he wanted me there. Later, when I dozed off, I felt the weight of a blanket draped over me. His quiet care nearly undid me more than any kiss. The nights blurred together. I started bringing little things: an old flannel shirt, a toothbrush, the boots I kicked off by his door. I still went home sometimes to keep up appearances, but it was Adrian's place that felt like shelter. Yet the closer we grew, the louder the world pressed in. One evening, he came home looking exhausted, his jaw tight. "What happened?" I asked. "Hospital politics," he muttered. "A colleague overheard a phone call. They asked me if I was seeing someone. If it was you." He sat heavily, rubbing his eyes. I told them it was none of their business. The weight of his words hit me hard. My shame wasn't just mine. Anna Maria was bleeding into his life. "Maybe I shouldn't be here," I said. His head snapped up. "Don't you dare say that." "Adrian, no. I'm tired of pretending my life has to be half empty to make other people comfortable. I want you here, with me. If that costs me whispers, so be it." His voice shook now, but not from weakness, from fury I'd never heard in him before. "But don't you dare take yourself away from me just because you're scared." His words gutted me, because the truth was I was scared, but I was also selfish enough to stay. The breaking point came on a rainy Friday night. We were at his place, half asleep on the couch, when someone pounded on the door. Adrian frowned, standing. Who? But I already knew. The voice outside confirmed it. "Brent. Open up, Hayes. Or should I say, lover boy." His laughter was harsh, ugly. "Come on, let the doctor out too. We know he's in there." Adrian froze. I stood, every muscle in me coiled tight. "Don't," Adrian whispered. "Stay here." But I couldn't. Rage boiled through me, fear and shame twisting together until my fists ached to break something. I yanked the door open. Brent stood there, drunk, rain dripping from his jacket. Behind him, 2 other guys from the crew smirked like this was a game. Well, Brent sneered. "Guess it's true. Hayes finally found someone who'll put up with him. Didn't think it'd be a man in a white coat." I wanted to hit him. God, every nerve in me screamed to. But Adrian's hand found mine, grounding me. "Go home, Brent," Adrian said, his voice steady, calm like the doctor he was. "This isn't your business." Brent laughed, but there was something hollow in it. "You'll regret this. Both of you." They left, but the damage lingered. I sank onto the couch, my chest heaving. "It's over. I can't, Adrian. I can't drag you into this." He knelt in front of me, gripping my hands. "Listen to me. You think you're poison, Ethan. You think anyone who touches you will get burned. But you're wrong. You're not poison. You're the first thing in a long time that's made me feel alive." Tears stung my eyes, hot and unwelcome. "What if they hurt you? Then we'll face it together." His voice broke then, soft but unshakable. "Because I'd rather face the whole damn world with you than go back to being safe and alone." And for the first time in years, I believed maybe love could be worth the fight. But the fight was only beginning. The next day at work, Brent didn't show. Neither did the others. But the looks I got, the whispers that chased me across the site, it was clear the story had spread. When I clocked out, I found my truck keyed. Words scrawled across the door. FAG. I stood there, staring, heat rising in my throat. Part of me wanted to smash something, to burn the whole damn town down. But another part of me thought of Adrian's hands, steady against mine, and forced me to breathe. That night, when I told him, he touched the scarred paint with gentle fingers. They want to scare you into silence. He looked at me, eyes fierce. Don't let them win. I laughed bitterly. You make it sound easy. It's not, he admitted. But it's worth it. Every night after, I stayed. Not because the fear disappeared, but because the fear was smaller than the thought of losing him. And slowly, impossibly, love began to carve a space for itself in the cracks of our broken world. The morning after Brent and his buddies vandalized my truck, I drove through town with the words still carved into my door. Everyone saw it. Everyone knew. Some stared, some smirked, some pretended not to notice. I'd never felt so naked, so exposed. At the construction site, silence clung to me like dust. No one said anything outright, but I could hear the whispers ripple when I passed, like insects buzzing just under my skin. I lasted 2 hours before my foreman pulled me aside. He didn't look me in the eye. Hayes, maybe you should take some time off. The words were coded in pity and something colder. Why? I asked, though I already knew. He shifted, uncomfortable. You're a good worker. But the crew, they're distracted. There's talk. You being here is causing problems. My fists curled, nails digging into my palms. Problems. That's what I was now. Problem to be removed. I almost quit on the spot. Almost spat back all the anger clawing at my throat. But instead, I walked out because I knew if I stayed, I'd break something I couldn't fix. That night, Adrian found me on his balcony. A beer sweating in my hand, my eyes on the dark city skyline. They pushed me out, I muttered. He stood beside me, quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm sorry. Don't be. I swallowed hard. This is what I get. This is what happens when people find out. His voice was firm. No, Ethan. This is what happens when small people can't handle big truths. Don't confuse the two. I let out a bitter laugh. You sound like you believe we can actually win this. He turned, his gaze steady. I do. But only if you stop fighting yourself first. His words sat heavy in my chest. I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But all I could see were the wreckage pieces of my life, jobs lost, friends gone. My name spit out like poison in the mouths of men who once shared beers with me. Adrian touched my arm, grounding me. Ethan, you're not alone anymore. You don't have to carry this alone. For the first time, I let myself lean into him, just enough to feel his warmth press against the cold that clung to me. The next blow came faster than I expected. Adrian was called into the hospital boardroom one afternoon. He came home late, his face pale, hands trembling. They know, he said, sinking into the couch. About us. About you. Ice filled my veins. What did they say? They said it was unprofessional. That I was risking my career by being seen with you. His laugh was sharp, bitter. Like my whole life's work can be undone because I dared to love someone. My chest tightened. So what happens now? They'll be watching me. Every move. Every patient. Every shift. Waiting for me to slip. His eyes glistened with a frustration that cut deeper than tears. I've spent years proving I belong there. And now it feels like one wrong step and they'll bury me. Guilt hit me like a wrecking ball. This is my fault. No, he snapped, grabbing my hand. Don't you dare say that. They're the ones in the wrong, not you. Not us. But in my gut, the shame grew heavier. Days blurred. Adrian and I clung to each other tighter than ever, but the world pressed harder. Anonymous notes slipped under his apartment door. My landlord called to tell me complaints had been made about inappropriate behavior. Even my mother, who barely called once a month, left a message saying she heard things, and I should think about what kind of son I wanted to be. Everywhere I turned, walls closed in. And still, every night, when the lights dimmed and silence settled, Adrian and I lay together, whispering truths we couldn't share with anyone else. He told me about his first crush in high school, the boy he never dared touch. I told him about sneaking glances at magazines, terrified my father would find out. We built a world out of shared secrets, fragile but ours. One night, as rain hammered against the windows, Adrian whispered, "Do you ever wonder if it's worth it?" The question sliced me open. Because yes, I wondered every damn day. But looking at him, lying there with shadows tracing his jaw, his chest rising steady under my arm, I knew the answer. "You're worth it," I said, my voice rough. "Even if the world hates me for it. You're worth it." He kissed me then, deep and desperate, like he was clinging to life itself. But the storm wasn't done. Brent wasn't finished. One Saturday, Adrian dragged me to a farmer's market outside the city. We thought we were safe there, just another couple weaving through stalls of fresh fruit and flowers. For the first time in weeks, I let my guard down, laughing when he smudged strawberry juice across my mouth, kissing him without thinking twice. And then I heard it, a voice I knew too well. "Well, isn't this cute?" I turned. Brent stood 10 feet away, phone in hand, a smirk stretched across his face. He was recording. My blood went cold. "Say hi, Hayes," he sneered. "Show everyone the real you." Before I could move, Adrian stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Delete it." Brent chuckled. "Oh, I don't think so. People ought to know what kind of man their doctor's spending his weekends with." The world spun. Adrian's reputation, his career, everything hanging in Brent's hands. I lunged, grabbing the phone. Brent shoved me back, shouting. The crowd turned. Voices rose. Someone yelled for security. It was chaos. Adrian pulled me away, dragging me through the crowd, his hand clamped tight around mine. We didn't stop running until we were blocks away, breathless and shaking. He leaned against a wall, gasping. "He won't stop. Ethan, he's going to destroy us." I pressed my forehead to his, my chest heaving. "Then let him try. I'm done hiding. I'm done letting him own me." His eyes searched mine, wide with both fear and hope. "Do you mean that?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, I do." The next day, I made the choice that terrified me most. I called my foreman. I called my mother. I called anyone who still pretended not to know. And I told them, straight, clear, no excuses, I'm with him, and I'm not ashamed. Some hung up, some cursed, some stayed silent. But Adrian was there for every call, his hand on my shoulder, his eyes steady when mine faltered. When I hung up the last one, shaking, I realized something I'd never thought possible. Saying it out loud didn't kill me, freed me. Adrian kissed me that night like it was the first time all over again. "You have no idea how proud I am of you," he whispered. And for once, I almost believed I deserved it. But the battle wasn't over. Brent's video was still out there. Rumors were still spreading. The town still wasn't kind. Yet something had shifted. I wasn't hiding anymore, and neither was Adrian. For the first time, we were standing together, not just in the shadows but in the light, ready to face whatever came next. The video dropped on a Monday morning. It wasn't just gossip anymore. Brent uploaded it to a local community page, a shaky clip of me kissing Adrian at the farmer's market. By noon, it had spread across town. By evening, people were whispering not just in bars and on street corners, but in Adrian's hospital hallways. I found him in his apartment, staring at his phone like it was an open wound. His colleagues had texted. His mother had called. Even his supervisor left a voicemail about professional standards. "This is it," he whispered. "They're going to take everything I worked for." Rage surged hot and fast through me. "Then we fight back. We don't let them bury us." He looked at me, his eyes tired, searching. "Do you really mean that? Because fighting back means no more hiding. No more pretending we're just voices on the phone. It means standing up in front of everyone and saying, yes, this is who I am. This is who we are." I swallowed hard. For years, that was the very thing I feared most. But now, looking at him, at the man who'd listened to me on nights when silence was unbearable, who'd seen me raw and broken and stayed anyway, I knew the cost of silence was worse than the cost of truth. "I'm ready," I said, and for the first time I wasn't lying. We decided to go public ourselves. If the world wanted a spectacle, then it would hear the truth from us, not from Brent's poison. The hospital board scheduled a meeting to discuss the situation. Adrian asked me to come. He said he needed me there not as a patient, not as a secret, but as his partner. Walking into that boardroom felt like walking into battle. Men in suits, women in stiff blazers, all looking at us like we were problems to be solved. Brent wasn't there, but his shadow hung heavy. One of the board members cleared his throat. "Dr. Cole, your conduct has raised concerns. Public displays of affection with a patient. I was never his patient." I cut in, my voice hard. "I called him once by mistake." He listened. "That's not misconduct. That's being human." The room shifted, uneasy. Adrian squeezed my hand under the table. Then he lifted his chin, his voice calm but steady. "I don't apologize for who I love. I'm still the doctor who saves lives here every day. If that's not enough because of who I hold hands with after work, then maybe the problem isn't me." The silence was deafening. Some eyes softened, others hardened. But no one threw us out. Not that day. It wasn't a victory, not yet. But it wasn't defeat either. Brent didn't take it well. He sent me messages, threats laced with venom. "You ruined me," he spat in one voicemail. "You think you won? You'll regret this, Hayes." I braced for the worst. But the worst never came, not in fists, not in fire. Just words. Ugly, empty words that rang hollow once I stopped letting them own me. Funny thing about bullies, they thrive in silence. Once you speak louder, they shrink. Life didn't magically fix itself. I didn't get my job back. Some neighbors still crossed the street when they saw me. Adrian's colleagues still whispered. But other things happened too. A man at the grocery store stopped me in the aisle, muttering, "Took guts what you did." A young nurse slipped Adrian a note that read, "Thank you for showing me it's okay." Even my mother called again, not to scold, but to say she was trying to understand. It wasn't acceptance from everyone, but it was enough to keep going. One evening, months later, Adrian and I sat on his balcony again. The sun bled orange across the sky, the city buzzing beneath us. I thought back to that first night, me drunk on anger, him picking up a call he could have ignored. How different my life might have been if he'd hung up. "You ever think about it?" I asked quietly. "How it all started?" He smiled, leaning into me. "Every day." I chuckled, shaking my head. "I called the wrong number, Adrian." "No," he corrected gently. "You called the right one." Something inside me cracked open, not from pain this time, but from a peace I never thought I'd earn. "I love you," I said, the words finally slipping free, unchained. He didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. He just smiled like the sun itself had bent toward me. "I love you too, Ethan." From then on, nights were no longer about hiding in whispers on the phone. They were about living together in the open, cooking dinner side by side, laughing over burned pancakes, falling asleep not because I heard his voice, but because I felt his heartbeat steady under my hand. The world was still rough, but so was I. And now I wasn't fighting it alone. The last time I saw Brent, months later, he was drunk outside a bar, muttering into his phone. His face looked older, worn, as if bitterness had carved deeper lines into him than time ever could. He didn't even notice me walk by, and for the first time I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing at all, because my life wasn't his anymore. It was mine, ours. We made a promise that night on the balcony to keep choosing each other, even when it was hard, to keep fighting not just against the world, but for the space we carved for ourselves in it. And every night, when I close my eyes, I still hear his voice in my head, not as a lifeline anymore, not as a crutch, but as a reminder of how far I've come. The wrong number saved my life. No did, and I'll spend the rest of mine loving him for it. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.